Say this once, and Capricorn will disappear forever. There's a phrase that, when said to a Capricorn, doesn't just push them away. It makes them disappear from your life completely. I'm not talking about an explosive fight, screaming matches, or dramatic accusations. I'm talking about something far more silent, far more final. Something that touches a wound so deep that they simply vanish. And the most terrifying part? Most people say this phrase without even realizing the damage they're doing. Almost nobody talks about this because Capricorn is known for their strength, their unwavering determination, their ability to move mountains alone. But there's an invisible side to that stone armor, a weak point they guard so carefully that even they avoid looking directly at it. And when someone, especially someone they love, hits that button, Capricorn doesn't confront, doesn't argue. They simply disconnect. Forever. If you have a Capricorn in your life, or if you are a Capricorn, this video will reveal what really happens behind that disappearance. And before we continue, subscribe to the channel and leave your like. It helps me keep bringing deep content like this. And answer me in the comments. Have you ever felt that urge to completely disappear when someone crossed an invisible line? Because what I'm about to share isn't just astrology theory. It's the emotional blueprint that explains why Capricorn, the sign that seems the most solid, the most reliable, the most unshakable, can vanish without warning, without explanation, leaving everyone around them wondering what happened. The truth is hidden in a pattern that starts in childhood and follows them into every relationship, every job, every connection they make. And once you understand this pattern, you'll never see Capricorn the same way again. Let's start with what truly defines Capricorn emotionally, the absolute need to be useful, to have purpose, to prove, constantly, that their existence has value. This isn't vanity. This is emotional survival. From a very young age, Capricorn learns that love and recognition aren't given freely. They must be earned. They observe the world around them and understand, even unconsciously, that they need to be indispensable to be loved. This trait is born from a primary experience, the feeling that they needed to mature before their time, carry responsibilities that weren't theirs, be the adult in situations while still being a child. Maybe it was taking care of a younger sibling, maybe balancing unstable parental emotions, maybe just realizing that nobody was going to hold their hand. So they learned to hold their own hand, and eventually everyone else's hand too. On the surface, this seems admirable. And it is. Capricorn becomes that reliable person, the one who solves problems, who sustains, who doesn't crumble. People praise them for it. You're so strong. I don't know what I'd do without you. You always know what to do. And they believe this is how it should be, that this is the price of their permanence in others' lives. But here's the internal conflict nobody sees. Capricorn begins to confuse being loved with being needed. They don't allow people to love them simply for who they are. They only feel secure when they're doing something, solving something, carrying something. And when they stop, when they're vulnerable, tired, lost, an inner voice whispers, if you're not useful, you have no value. This is the invisible burden they carry every single day. Think about it like this. Imagine building your entire sense of self-worth on a foundation of utility. Every brick in that foundation is a task completed, a problem solved, a person helped. Now imagine someone telling you that foundation doesn't matter. That's not just criticism. That's existential terror. Because if Capricorn isn't the one holding everything together, who are they? This question haunts them in quiet moments, drives them to overwork, pushes them to sacrifice their own needs repeatedly. They become so identified with the role of the strong one that they forget they're allowed to be human, allowed to need, allowed to rest without losing their worth. To the world, Capricorn is the mountain, unshakable, solid, the one who doesn't waver, doesn't crumble, who holds the line when everyone else lets go. They project an image of total control, in finances, in emotions, in life plans. People look at them and think, this person has it all figured out. And Capricorn works tirelessly to keep that perception intact. But internally, Capricorn is exhausted. They carry an emotional weight they never show, because showing it would mean admitting weakness, and weakness in their mind equals disposability. They're constantly calculating. If I show I'm tired, they'll see me as weak. If I ask for help, they'll think I can't handle it. If I break down, they'll abandon me. So they hide. They hide the fear of not being enough. They hide the loneliness of carrying everything alone. They hide the anguish of never being able to fully relax, because there's always something that needs to be done, always someone who needs them, always a responsibility waiting. They become masters of the emotional mask. The effort to maintain this image is brutal. Capricorn spends nights awake processing problems they shouldn't even be solving. They take on responsibilities that aren't theirs just to prove they can. They sacrifice their own peace of mind to ensure nobody around them suffers. And when someone asks, "Are you okay?" they automatically respond, "I'm fine," even when they're falling apart inside. The silent emotional wear is devastating. Capricorn doesn't scream their suffering. They don't make dramatic scenes. They don't slam doors or send long, anguished messages at 3 a.m. Their pain doesn't announce itself with fireworks or floods of tears. Instead, it seeps in quietly, like water slowly filling a room from beneath the floorboards. They just become quieter, more distant, more mechanical. Their responses get shorter. Their smiles don't quite reach their eyes anymore. The warmth that once radiated from their presence starts to fade, replaced by a polite but hollow efficiency. And the people around them, who depend on them so much, often don't even notice they're disappearing emotionally, because they continue fulfilling their obligations. They still show up to work. They still pay the bills. They still respond to messages, still solve problems, still carry the weight they've always carried. From the outside, nothing has changed. But inside, everything has collapsed. The difference is that now they do everything on autopilot, with their heart completely disconnected. They're physically present, but emotionally absent. They go through the motions with mechanical precision, nodding at the right moments, saying the appropriate things, maintaining the facade. But there's nobody home behind their eyes. It's like watching someone operate their own life from a distance, as if they're a puppet master controlling themselves with invisible strings. They've learned to perform the role of themselves so convincingly that no one notices the real them has quietly slipped away, retreating to some unreachable place deep inside where the pain can't follow. And the saddest part? They've become so skilled at this emotional disappearing act that even they sometimes forget they're doing it. Imagine wearing a suit of armor every single day. At first, it feels protective, empowering even. But over time, that armor gets heavier. It presses into your skin, restricts your breathing, makes every movement exhausting. You want to take it off, but you've worn it so long you're terrified of what people will see without it. Will they still respect you? Will they still need you? Will they still stay? So you keep the armor on, even as it slowly crushes you. That's Capricorn's daily reality. Maintaining strength they no longer feel, projecting confidence they don't possess, all while desperately hoping someone will see through the facade without them having to admit it's there. Now, let's talk about patterns. Because Capricorn doesn't live this dynamic just once. They repeat it again and again in different contexts with different people, but always with the same emotional structure underneath. First pattern, they always assume the role of savior. Whether at work, in family, or in relationships, Capricorn positions themselves as the one who will fix things. Someone has financial problems? They help. Someone needs guidance? They lead. Someone is emotionally destroyed? They sustain them. And they do this not just because they're generous. They do it because, unconsciously, they believe this is the only way to guarantee these people won't leave. Second pattern. They indefinitely postpone their own needs. Ask a Capricorn when was the last time they did something purely for pleasure, without guilt, without feeling like they were wasting time. They probably won't remember. Because to them, self-care feels selfish, feels irresponsible. So they push their dreams, their health, their emotions to later. And that later never comes. Third pattern. They create relationships based on function, not connection. Capricorn relates to people through what they can do for them. They rarely allow anyone to know them deeply because that would require vulnerability. So their relationships become transactional, even when they don't realize it. They give, and expect that somehow this will guarantee the person's permanence in their life. But when that person doesn't reciprocate in the same measure, or when they criticize them, or when they question their value, Capricorn feels the contract has been broken. Fourth pattern. They live in emotional cycles of achievement and burnout. Capricorn dedicates themselves intensely, achieves something, feels proud for a moment, and then returns to the starting point. Because the achievement doesn't fill the void. They thought that by reaching that goal, by proving that value, they'd finally feel secure. But the feeling lasts briefly. Soon they're back in need-to-prove mode, need to do more, need to be better. It's like climbing a mountain only to discover there's another mountain behind it, and another, and another. This pattern generates a terrible sensation, that they're always returning to the same emotional place, no matter how much they achieve externally. And this, silently, begins to destroy them. They look at their accomplishments, the career success, the stable relationships, the respect they've earned, and feel nothing, because none of it answers the fundamental question haunting them. Would anyone stay if I stopped performing? The treadmill never stops, the bar keeps rising, and Capricorn keeps running, keeps jumping, keeps proving, even as their soul begs for rest. Over time, these dynamics don't just repeat, they deepen. And the consequences begin accumulating in ways Capricorn often only recognizes when they're already emotionally devastated. Accumulated emotional impact. Capricorn develops emotional rigidity. They stop feeling intensely because feeling hurts too much. They shield themselves, build walls so high that even they can't scale them. They become cold, not because they want to, but because it's the only way to survive the constant weight of being indispensable. And this coldness eventually affects all their relationships. People start complaining that they're distant, that they don't open up, that they don't show affection. But Capricorn can't explain that they no longer know how to be vulnerable without completely falling apart. Effects on important choices. Living in this dynamic of proving value, Capricorn makes important decisions based on fear, not desire. They choose the job that brings security, not the one that brings satisfaction. They remain in relationships that drain them because leaving would seem like failure. They avoid risks, avoid changes, avoid anything that might threaten the structure they've built so carefully, even when that structure is suffocating them. Relationship with stability and belonging. Capricorn confuses stability with rigidity. They think that to have security, they need to control everything. But excessive control creates prison. And belonging? Capricorn never truly feels they belong anywhere because they never allow anyone to see who they really are. They're always in performance mode, always proving, always sustaining. And this generates profound loneliness, even when surrounded by people. Chronic emotional fatigue. And then comes the exhaustion. Not physical tiredness that a good night's sleep fixes, but emotional exhaustion. The kind that makes you wake up already drained, that makes you look at your own life and think, why does everything feel so heavy? Capricorn reaches a point where they can't carry anymore. But they also don't know how to stop, because stopping means disappointing people, means failing, means losing value. And this is where we begin to understand what truly makes Capricorn disappear forever. It's not one big event. It's the accumulation of years spent believing their worth is conditional. Their love is earned. Their place in others' lives is contingent on what they provide. And when someone confirms that belief, when someone verbalizes what they've always feared, the weight becomes unbearable. So what's the phrase? What can you say to a Capricorn that makes them vanish from your life forever? You're not as important as you think you are. Or variations of it. You think nobody can survive without you? Relax. The world doesn't revolve around you. You are replaceable. When someone says this to Capricorn, especially someone they love, someone they've sacrificed for, something inside them breaks. Not explosively, silently. Because this phrase hits exactly the central wound they've spent their entire life trying to heal through actions, through proof, through sacrifices. Capricorn dedicated everything to being indispensable. And now someone is saying they're not. That all their effort was in vain. That they could have disappeared and nothing would change. For them, this isn't just criticism, it's confirmation of their deepest fear. That they were never truly loved. only tolerated while they were useful. And what do? They don't fight. They don't try to explain. They don't beg for recognition. They simply disappear. Because, in their mind, if their presence doesn't make a difference, there's no reason to remain. They emotionally disconnect, stop responding, stop trying, stop showing up. And they do this with frightening coldness, because it's the only way to protect what little remains of their dignity. The most tragic part? Capricorn carries immense potential for deep connections, for building legacies, for being truly loved, not for what they do, but for who they are. But as long as they believe they need to prove their worth, as long as they confuse love with function, they'll continue disappearing from people who genuinely love them, simply because those people, unknowingly, touched the wound they never healed. This is the silent heartbreak of Capricorn. They disappear not because they stopped caring, but because they cared too much in the wrong way. They invested everything into being needed and nothing into being known. And when the illusion shatters, when someone suggests their relentless effort doesn't matter, they can't reconcile the person they've built themselves to be with this new, devastating reality. So they vanish, protecting the last shred of their identity, leaving behind people who never understood that the strongest person in the room was also the most fragile. If you're a Capricorn, I want you to understand something. You don't need to be useful to be loved. You don't need to carry the world on your shoulders to deserve to belong in it. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your existence by itself already has value. And the people who truly love you for the quiet moments, for the moments of fragility, for the moments when you're doing nothing, not just for the moments when you're solving everything. Recognizing this pattern isn't weakness. It's awareness. And awareness is the first step to choosing differently. You can choose to stop disappearing. You can choose to stay, even when someone questions your value, because you know that your value doesn't depend on anyone's opinion. You can choose to build relationships based on real connection, not function. And you can choose, finally, to rest. And if you have a Capricorn in your life, understand this. When they pull away, it's not because they don't love you. It's because they've reached the limit of their capacity to prove they deserve to be loved. And perhaps what they most need to hear isn't "I need you," but rather, "I love you," even when you're not doing anything for me. There are no magic promises here. This won't resolve overnight. But change begins when you stop running from the pattern and start facing it head-on. With honesty, with compassion, with the willingness to do things differently. You deserve relationships where your presence matters more than your productivity. You deserve to be loved for your humanity, not your utility. And you deserve to finally put down the weight you were never meant to carry alone. Now I want to hear from you. At what moment did you recognize this pattern in your life? Was it when someone said something that made you completely disappear? Was it when you realized you were emptying yourself to maintain a relationship? Was it when you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize who was staring back? Leave it here in the comments. This space is safe. And knowing you're not alone in this journey can make all the difference, both for you and for whoever's reading. And if this video touched you in any way, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss upcoming content. In the next video, we'll talk about how Capricorn can begin rebuilding their relationship with vulnerability without feeling like they're losing control. You won't want to miss it. Sending strength, and see you in the next video. Black Heart.